Hello, Georgia, it's Daddy. How are you? Another book for you. I think you know this one. The Wrong Kind of Bark. I like this story, so let's read this one. This is chapter 1. Finley and the Fish. Finley sat next to the fish tank. He liked watching the fish. They were more interesting than the teacher. There was a little bridge at the bottom of the fish tank, but the fish never swam under it, or maybe they did when Finley wasn't looking. The big fish was swimming very near the bridge now. "Go on," Finley whispered. "Swim under it." The teacher was talking to the class. "Tomorrow I want you all to bring in a flower for the nature table," she said. "It can be any kind of flower." Finley watched the big fish. It swam over the bridge. Is it swimming over the bridge? Finley said the teacher. "Finley," said the teacher, "what did I just say?" "Any kind of flower," said Finley. "Yes," said the teacher, and stopped staring at the fish. This chapter is called The Wrong Kind of Flower. "Did you all remember to bring in a flower?" asked the teacher the next day. Most of the class had. Sally Wong had a marigold. Oh, there's a marigold. David Simmons had a rose. A lot of it had been eaten by greenfly. Oh dear, it's not looking very good, is it? It's been a bit eaten. Ruth Goodchild had a pansy. She had some extra flowers for the teacher too. "I grew these myself." And there she is with a big smile, thinking she's done very well. The teacher filled a jam jar with water. She put it on the nature table. "Now all put your flowers in here," she said. Sally Wong put in the marigold. David Simmons put in what was left of the rose. Ruth Goodchild put in the pansy. "Please, miss," she said. "Look what Finley's doing." Oh, what do you think he's doing? He's pouring something into the jar. The teacher looked at Finley. He was pouring some white stuff out of a bag and into the water. "What are you doing, Finley?" asked the teacher. "Putting my flower in the water, like you said, miss," said Finley. "That's the wrong kind of flower. He's using bread flour, isn't he?" said the teacher. She had to change the water. Oh dear, he mustn't have been listening at school. Later on, Finley was watching the fish again. The little one was swimming very near the bridge. "Go on," he whispered Finley. "Swim under it." The teacher was talking to the class. "Tomorrow I want you all to bring in a nut for the nature table," she said. "It can be any kind of nut." Finley watched the little fish. It swam round the bridge. "Finley," said the teacher, "what did I just say?" "Any kind of nut," said Finley. "Yes," said the teacher, "and stop staring at that fish." The Wrong Kind of Nut, this chapter's called. "Did you all remember to bring in a nut?" asked the teacher the next day. Most of the class had. Sally Wong had a walnut. David Simmons had a conker. It had got a bit broken in a conker fight. There it is, a bit broken. Ruth Goodchild had a coconut. She had a packet of peanuts for the teacher too. Oh, she's a smarty pants. "Now put them all on the nature table," said the teacher. Sally Wong put down the walnut. David Simmons put down the broken conker. Ruth Goodchild put down the coconut. "Please, miss," she said, "Finley's putting some metal things on the table." "That's not what you said, miss, is it?" "What are those, Finley?" said the teacher. "Can you see what he's put down?" "They're nuts, like you said, miss," said Finley. "My dad was screwing some into the shells, and he let me have these ones." "That's the wrong kind of nut," said the teacher. She moved Finley to a different table. "Now you can stop staring at the fish," she said. I think he was staring at the fish instead of listening to the teacher. Right, said the teacher. It's time to practice our play. The class was doing a play about nature. Some children had made masks. Sally Wong had a daisy mask. Finley had a tomato mask. David Simmons had a yellow mask. He was being the sun. He had cut one eye bigger than the other, but the teacher said it didn't matter. Some children were being raindrops. They had long paper ribbons tied to their arms. The ribbons were supposed to be the rain. Ruth Goodchild was Mother Nature. She had a wand and was allowed to boss everybody about. And there she is, bossing everyone about. The children practiced the play in the hall. Then they came back to the classroom. Finley's new table was by the window. There was some scaffolding up outside. Some builders were going to do some work on the school roof. They were sitting on the scaffolding having their lunch. One of them had dropped a bit of a sandwich, and a bird was hopping towards it. "Go on," whispered Finley. "Get the sandwich." There's the bird and the crumbs. The teacher was talking to the class. "I want you all to bring in part of a tree for the nature table," she said. "It can be a twig or a leaf or a little bit of bark." Finley watched the bird. It flew away. "Finley," said the teacher. "What did I just say?" "Bring in bark," said Finley. "Yes," said the teacher, and stopped staring out of the window. The wrong kind of bark. The teacher came into the classroom the next day. There were a lot of children around Finley's table, lots and lots. "Please, miss," said Ruth Goodchild. "Finley's got a dog. That's not what you said, miss, is it?" Finley had a small puppy in his arms. "Finley, you can't bring pets to school," said the teacher. "But I thought you said, bring in a bark, miss," said Finley. The puppy barked loudly. "That's the wrong kind of bark," said the teacher. She phoned Finley's home to see if his mum or dad could come and collect the puppy. But no one was in. The teacher went back into the classroom. The puppy was standing on the nature table. He was barking at the builders. The jar of flowers was on its side. Most of the nuts were on the floor. "Take him off the table, Finley," said the teacher. She cleared up the mess. The puppy went on and on, barking at the builders. Finley put his anorak under the nature table. "What are you doing now, Finley?" asked the teacher. "I'm making a bed for the puppy," said Finley. The puppy lay down on the anorak. He stopped barking. Oh, he's going to have a little nap, I think. "Now it's time to do the play for the rest of the school," said the teacher. The children put on their masks. Sally Wong put on her daisy mask. David Simmons put on his sun mask. Finley put on his tomato mask. The puppy started to bark again. He barked and barked at the tomato mask. "He doesn't like the tomato mask," said Finley. "He thinks it's attacking me." "Take the mask off," said the teacher. "You can put it on when we're down in the hall." Finley took off the tomato mask. The puppy growled. Arr! He grabbed the mask in his mouth and tore it up. Oh no, you see it's broken a bit now. The teacher was very cross. "I'll have to tie him up," she said. She found some string and tied one of the ends to the puppy's collar, and then tied the other end to a leg of Finley's table. Finley had to make a new tomato mask. There wasn't time for the paint to dry. The teacher put the paint pot up on a shelf. Oh, there she is up there, putting it on the shelf. Then they went down the hall to act the play to the rest of the school. The puppy was left alone in the classroom. Oh no. The builders were banging on the roof. Bang, bang, bang. The puppy barked at them. The builders went on banging. The shelves and the wall started to shake. Uh-oh, can you see what's going to happen? They shook and shook. The pot of red paint jumped off the shelf. It fell on its side and the red paint started to run out of it. Uh-oh. What's beneath the shelf? Looks like the fish tank. Down in the hall the children were doing their play, the children being flowers and fruit curled up on the stage. Ruth Goodchild was sitting in a chair with tinsel tied on it. It was her throne. Pitter-patter raindrops, she said. She waved her wand. The children, being raindrops, ran over and across the stage. They shook the ribbons on their arms. They were supposed to be watering the flowers and fruit. David Simmons came onto the stage in his sun mask. He stood stiffly over the plants. From far off came a barking sound, though. "Grow, plants, grow," said Ruth. The children, being flowers and fruit, began to uncurl. Finley uncurled. The red paint from his tomato mask dripped down his T-shirt. "Grow, plants, grow," said Ruth Goodchild. There she is. The barking grew louder and louder. "Grow taller," said Ruth, as the children started to uncurl and start to grow like plants. The flowers and fruit grew. Most of them grew slowly. But the tomato shot up. It was still dripping red paint. The tomato jumped off the stage. It ran through the hall and up the stairs. Ruth Goodchild looked cross. "I said grow, not go," she's shouting. This chapter's called The Right Kind of Bark. The teacher went out of the hall quietly. She followed the tomato up the stairs. Finley went into the classroom. The teacher followed him. "Woof, woof, woof," said the doggies going. The puppy had stopped barking at the builders. He was barking at the fish tank. He was barking and barking and barking. On the shelf, the pot of red paint lay on its side. The red paint was running out of it. A few drops had dripped into the fish tank. "Quick," said the teacher. "Bring me a jam jar of water, Finley." She took the paint pot off the shelf and put it back on her table. There was a net next to the fish tank. The teacher fished the big fish out of the tank. Finley and the puppy watched. The puppy had stopped barking. The teacher tried to fish out the little fish, but it was a very fast swimmer. It kept swimming away. "Yes," said Finley. The little fish was swimming under the bridge. Yeah! The teacher held the net the other side of the bridge, and the little fish swam into it. So eventually he did go under the bridge. The teacher took the fish into the classroom the next day. They had a fish tank too. Into the classroom next door. They had a fish tank too. She put the fish in that fish tank. "Now we'll have to change the water in our tank," she said. "We can't have the fish swallowing red paint. No, there's the red paint in the fish tank." Later on, the children came back to the classroom. Ruth Goodchild still looked cross. "I'm sorry I missed the end of the play," said the teacher, "but in a way I'm glad. If all the paint had gone into the water, the fish could be dead. What a good thing that Finley's puppy warned us." So it was the right kind of bark. It was a warning bark by the puppy. Finley cuddled his puppy. Perhaps it was the right kind of bark after all. "But miss," said Ruth Goodchild, and the little puppy's going woof, having a cuddle with Finley. I love you, Georgia and Oscar. See you soon.